So I'm a member of the Academy, and I'm not a specialist in climate. But of course, I think this is a problem of everybody, right? But as a normal citizen, I see that even the church, Vatican, embracing the problem. We go home, we turn on the TV, we see news, and then we change the channel, it seems the problem goes away. You know, for many regular citizens, it seems that the problem is too far. And we come to a meeting like this, we get in panic, right? Because it seems that the problem is just tomorrow. And of course, there are many other things together, as we're going to see, because climate change, it comes together. Disaster never comes alone, right? It's always, you have a sequence. And climate change also has a lot to do with health with people, right? And this is the thing I'm going to try to give some solution. I don't have a solution for the climate change, but what we do in our lab in Brazil is trying to come with simple and small solutions to help healthcare. And of course, many of them are problems that are related to climate change, as the abuse of pesticide or to antibiotics. Okay, so problems are all related, right? So I have to, you know, if we speak about health of the planet, we are speaking about health of our own, and I'm very much interested in food, because Brazil is a good player in food production, and we're having problem, contamination, and problems with use of many chemical substances and things. So I'm going to try to go around the techniques that we are doing to help with the health problem in some way, and also with food production. You know, cost of health is a problem, either related to climate or not. There is a very nice paper that came out recently about the impact of new technologies for healthcare. Science never contributes so much for healthcare. You know, we can almost treat everything we want today, but it seems that we never had so many people with no access to healthcare. You know, I think already some people show, which means that technology is helping to solve problems, but not to everybody. And I know some people in Brazil that are going back on techniques to treat people because they can't afford. You know, public health, they can't treat everybody the way they should because technology is there for people that can afford. And most part of the people cannot. So we have a problem there, right? Is the cost. And equivalent to the climate change, I mean, there is a cost for everything, and we asking people to be aware of the problems, but they want to survive. You know, I visit a few places that everybody's aware. I visit Amazonas. I saw Amazonas being cited many times. But you go there, you're going to ask what that people going to live off. They're going to have to explore the jungle. And nobody's really teaching them to explore in the right way. And then they just do whatever people come around to say, and which is cutting wood and exporting. I don't know if you know, but foreigner countries create a road connecting Amazonas jungle to the Pacific Ocean, exactly to extract the wood. So I think my friend from Argentina said education is everything. So we have to educate the people too, not only the young kids, because they have to know that that's not the correct way of doing. On the other hand, they have to survive. Okay, so I'm going to briefly, and I'm not going to cover all, but we have some challenges in healthcare. And I am a physicist that work with optics. So I use light to do atomic physics. And of course, light today can be used for many things. And I think I list some of the challenges we have. And cancer is one of them. Doesn't matter what we do, more people are dying of cancer every year. You know, a country like Brazil, we are close to 200 million people. We have about 1 million new cases of cancer every year. So this is about 0.5%, which is huge. Infection. We had a meeting just a few days before this meeting, and we have a very good academician here, Ada Yonat, which is from Israel. She's a Nobel Prize. And she told us that in the next few decades, close to 4% of all global economy, 4% of all global economy will be expanded because of bacterial resistance. 4% of all global economy, that's a huge amount. You were here, right? The chair of our section. So we have a problem. Infections is growing so fast, we cannot deal, and it was declared in the last meeting too, companies gave up. They're not going to invest anymore in the new generations of antibiotic. So it means that in the next few years, million people gonna die of diseases that today we could control. Today we can. In a few years we cannot, because bacteria are getting resistance. That's a challenge. We are investing a lot in treating disease, but we have to invest in treating health people. We cannot afford treating all the diseases. We have to invest in ways of keeping people healthy. If we treat health, it will not be necessary to invest in disease because they're going to survive better. And food security. We speak a lot about providing food and everything, but we are already facing problems of contamination and environment, as I'm going to show to you. Some of the things we're doing to commercialize food in natura, which means fresh food, is producing a big degradation of environment. Okay, well, this is a picture, it's very nice because it means what we're doing to nature, right? We really don't have today very healthy food, right? Everything that comes from animal has to be filled with substances, hormones, antibiotics, and even fruits are filled with pesticides. We don't have any healthy food around. So we produce more, but then we pay the bill on what are the consequences. Somebody told me we have a very good academician too in liver disease. He's one of the leaders in liver transplantation in the world. He told me that, you know, problems with teenagers in liver problems like cirrhosis and things used to be completely absent in medicine. Today you find young people with problems of liver. And this comes because the food are just filled with chemicals. So, you know, the problem is more complex, so we are damaging everything. You know, we're not damaging only the climate, because every time we put antibiotics in animals, and that's what we do all the time, we cannot produce the amount we produce without doing this. We are filling everything with antibiotics, right, and causing problems everywhere. Biophotonics is this area that we use light to manipulate molecules and everything, and also manipulate reactions. And many of them can be used for health. And my time is going very fast, so I have to accelerate. And we're using this in 3 different levels. We're using this in one thing that we call photodynamic action. We make molecules that we put, and they find the microorganisms, or they find cells that we want to kill, and when we illuminate, they produce a photoreaction that kills whatever they are. So cancer cells or microorganisms, which is one of the target of this. We're also using ultraviolet. This is more or less what Steve said. You know, ultraviolet has been used in the past and then we forgot about because chemical companies were so powerful. We preparing the water, everything to chemicals, but now it's too much. We have to go back and maybe use the ultraviolet. And ultraviolet is a very clean way of controlling contaminants and everything. And ozone. Ozone is good not only to clean the swimming pool, we can clean food, because ozone is very metastable. It doesn't survive very much if there is electron density around it, oxidize, and so it's very good to prevent contamination in food and in many other things. So I'm going to jump in this cancer part, but we're doing a very good work in overcoming this challenge in many places in the world. And I'm going to jump, sorry, I'm going to go directly to the other part. So we're doing techniques for easily curing or treating cancer in a way that people can afford. This is also the HPV, which is a papilloma virus, that we have a very little solution for all of this. This is the main cause of cervical cancer in women, but this can be controlled with photonic treatments, and this is being done. And in fact, we receive a award of a Mercosur award. But I want to speak about microorganism control. All those diseases you see in this picture are now being able to be controlled without antibiotics, because we are in the antibiotics crisis. You know, they call the catastrophe of antibiotics. And how we do that? We do that by going directly to the microorganism, not in a systemic way. So if we can make molecules that goes and find the microorganism, and this is not so hard today. When we illuminate, and today, you know, you can illuminate trans body with your infrared, you hit those molecules, you excite those molecules, and then start a oxidation process and destroy. And as you can see, people is being demonstrated that we can kill 10 log scale for the contamination. This is very efficient, and people is being applying this now for many things, and I'm involved in this body cleaning stuff. It seems that we are missing blood in the world, and they are all contaminated when we can reach them, and we find a way of separating the components of blood, pass to a machine, and then we decontaminate the plasma, which is the liquid, and the cells, and then we recombine the body free of disease, and this is already ongoing for being an industrial process. And as you can see in the graphic below, I'm sorry, it's too small, we can decrease 5 log scales on contaminants of blood. This is also a very good technique that's been done in Toronto, and we are also part of that, which is the contamination of organs from transplantation using equivalent technique. We put molecules that can find only microorganisms, and then by illumination, we can reduce all those contaminants. And this is the main cause of antibiotic resistance, is the use of antibiotics in young child. Old child before 2 years old already experienced 3 antibiotics in average. And so the bacteria became resistant. So this is we put a substance in a caramel or in a pop, without sugar, of course, and in 5 minutes you can impregnate the plaques of bacteria on the throat, and then through illumination you can remove, and in 94% of the cases, kids are free of infection with a single application, and this is now in phase 3. For to be approval for as being a product. And this is also something that's very much related to dangers of resistant microorganism, which is pneumonia. This is an experiment we did with rats. Always everything works with rats, and then when we go to people, we get some problems. But this is a technique that the animal, which is contaminated with pneumonia, inhalate, breathe some molecules that goes to the lungs, and then through extra body illumination, we can decrease the amount of pneumonia. And we were able to cure from pneumonia 100% of the rats with resistant bacteria. And this, I think, is a very important thing. And now we are preparing to do this in people with collaboration with many other guys, and everything is in a book. But, you know, food is an important issue, and I think it's very much related to climate. And this is a map that shows how is the hungriness distributed in the world. But the numbers you see is the increase in production expected in different parts. And Brazil, as you can see there, we are expecting a growth between 2010 and 2020. This is happening now, 40% increase in food production. Okay, we're going to produce food. And of course, we are a very important player of meat production, beef. I learned that in some state of Brazil, we have more cows, animals for producing beef than men, like Goiás, Tocantins, Mato Grosso, which are the central part of Brazil. We have more animals than men. And it turns out that now we're facing a problem. Production is increasing a lot. This is exporting. You see, we not export a lot of beef to North America, but we export for the rest of the world. And, but everything is going with disease. Fruits, also, there are a lot of disease. I learned recently that 30% of all fruit and vegetable production is expired in transport because they acquire fungus and everything. And this is a problem, and we have to help with that. And someone else, you will learn about this recently, it's in the meat. And it's a problem. You cannot heat the meat. Everybody wants to buy fresh meat. You want to cook yourself the meat. So the bacteria are there, and we have to solve that. Salmonellosis is a problem. It's been already reaching many people around the world. It comes in the eggs, and because it's on the external part of the egg. It's in the chicken. When puts the egg, comes in the external part, but the way we use eggs, we contaminate food. So, and fish, you know, also is a problem. I read a report recently that we have to change the source of protein. We have to change from beef to fish. But fish is getting a problem because they are all artificial produced, and they are filled with antibiotics because that's the way to produce. And well, this is a very interesting graphic. It's in Portuguese, so you can learn some words in Portuguese. If you don't put antibiotics, that's the rate in which bacteria accumulate in the fish, and then you have to put antibiotics, otherwise the fish cannot grow in those farms. And so we get the antibiotics, we get everything with antibiotics, and the way of solving this is trying to remove those microorganisms, either in the environment that we produce in the food or in the food itself, and techniques with ultraviolet radiation, ozone, and this photodynamic action is being very important. This is an example, broccolis. Broccolis is a food that you buy frozen, and the company that produces broccolis, they normally use hyperacetic acid to clean it up, the broccoli, before packaging. But they're using so much hyperacetic acid now, and they throw the water back in the fields that large amounts of farms, large areas in Mexico became unproductive because of the pH increase. So this is a device that circulates the water. I guess no, it's going. Circulate the water as you wash. And UV is very good because a small dose of UV can eliminate very severe bacteria. They cannot develop resistance to UV. So this is a machine that cleans up the food by circulating water, and you cannot, to wash one piece of broccoli, you need 50 liters of water. So this is unaffordable. So you need to use 1 liter, but circulate and clean the water itself, and this is done with UV. It's a very well succeed technique, and you can show that you can produce very clean. This is the same kind of technique applied to food, and now we are cleaning reservoir of water that are producing fish, also circulating the water in large quantity and passing through UV. Food transportation also is very good for UV, but the photodynamic reaction is even better because you spray some substance. And when you activate by light, the substance oxidizes itself and oxidizes the fungus. So you can get very clean food and very clean vegetables that way, and this is being applied. I'm sorry, this is a new technique that instead of throwing pesticide in the fields, we are throwing ozone in solution. And you can clean it up. Vegetables, coffee is a big issue in Brazil, and they are able now to clean the coffee plantation without using pesticide, using only atomizer solution of ozone. And that in 20 minutes, the ozone is going to become oxygen, but we're going to oxidize fungus that are on the plants. And this is the last one that we did, which is about the dengue. Dengue is chikungunya. This mosquito is a very smart mosquito. It can transfer 11 diseases. And there is a way of preventing this, is throwing on the water some molecules that are very unstable, but they are stable enough for the larvae to absorb this molecule, and during the sunrise, all the larvae are oxidized. This is already being tested in Brazil, in the fields, with a good success. We're being able to reduce close to 100% of the larvae of dengue, and now we're doing a research with malaria, which I think is also a problem in Africa, and I hope you'll be fine. This is also cleaning up food with water, with some substance that under environment light oxidize only the microorganism, and we were able to recently demonstrate that if you package meat with ozone atmosphere, it survives 5 times more. The same with fruits. So it means that we can prevent a little bit the degradation of food during the transportation, which I think is a big issue, because I was told that 30% is being spoiled in transportation. So I think these are more or less giving my contribution. So I'm in the other side. I'm in my laboratory trying to see how can I contribute to decrease elements that are making the earth a terrible place to live, right? And I think contamination is one of the terrible things. And this thing of infection, if we don't act also very fast, we're all going to die of diarrhea that today is completely controlled. And then we're not going to have a chance to see the planet need for climate change. We are talking about decades of problems that will be unsolvable if you don't act now. Thank you very much.